Howdy, dowdy, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Unfictional Soundscape. I am your host, Author Man. It's a goddamn beautiful day outside. I've been gone for a bit. Long story short, my apartment flooded and school bent me over and gave me a nice slap on the gluteus maximus. That's all over and done with now. We're finally here. Today, we're back to business as usual with our analyses, and we're coming right at you quick with a damn fine choice. Hi, I'm Mary Mary. Hi, I'm Mary Mary is absolutely one of my favorite unfiction pieces to date. I had been meaning to finish it, and I finished it specifically for this episode, and I am really friggin' happy that I did. This thing is fantastic. Now, a couple things I have to talk about before I get started. If you haven't watched Hi, I'm Mary Mary, then you need to stop the episode right now and go watch it. I'm telling you to go do that for two reasons. Number one, because it is incredible, and you need to be doing yourself that favor. You deserve it. And two, I'm going to be talking about it very flippantly. So I'm not going to be stopping myself from spoiling anything, as per usual. So you should go watch it. So, as I'm sure most of you are aware that have watched this series, there's quite a bit to discuss in terms of sound design and music. There's clearly a lot of work put into it, and I appreciate that about Hi, I'm Mary Mary, and I appreciate that from the creator as well, Kay. She's a very nice lady, genius, pure genius. We're going to talk about the music that is prevalent in Hi, I'm Mary Mary. Hi, I'm Mary Mary has an emphasis on music, more so than I see in other unfiction projects, which, hey man, the more the merrier. Give me more emphasis on music in unfiction projects, please, I'm begging you. I love that shit. Now, when I say Hi, I'm Mary Mary has an emphasis on music, it is referring to any time that Mary is singing or playing a song. So, for example, whenever she played the piano in the third episode. Singing in the second episode. This emphasis on music doesn't just incorporate the music that pertains to when Mary plays it or sings it. You hear it sometimes. I've been trying to place this song for the past week. I still can't do it, man. I've tried to clean it up as much as possible. I have no idea what this song is. If anybody knows what this song is, or Kay, you want to tell me what it is, I would love to know. I said it before, I'll say it again. I love that Hi, I'm Mary Mary has this emphasis on music. I think more unfiction projects should do this because it can be utilized for a narrative and thematic purpose. And, I mean, this happens in movies all the time where characters have a specific connection to a song or what have you because it means something to them or it means something to the story. It should happen more in unfiction. It's a great cinematic technique that adds character development to the character that is involved with the song. I mean, look at Into the Spider-Verse. I love that fucking movie. And one of the reasons that I love that movie is because of Miles. And one of the reasons that I love Miles is because he is very human. Very human. And the first shot that we get with him is some of the most human shit in cinema. He's sitting there and he's singing a song. It works because you do that. You'll sit there and you'll sing a song and you'll be like, nevertheless, calling it. And Hi, I'm Mary Mary does that. Not exactly to that extent where like she'll trip over the words or whatever, but she'll sing. She'll just sing to sing. She'll just do it whenever she wants. Because she likes to. And people just like to sing sometimes when they're by themselves. A lot of people like to do that. So I think we should definitely be having more examples in unfiction where somebody just sings to sing. This idea of music being very prevalent in Hi, I'm Mary Mary extends even beyond the music that Mary sings or the music that she plays in her house. Uh, this extends to the night ambiance. Kay has stated that her process for making that is going into GarageBand and manually creating the sounds with synths. I'm gonna play a bit of that ambiance for you really quickly. I think more people should do this. It is genius. Incredibly genius. And it is very Silent Hill. I think it's genius because it gives the series a diegetic soundtrack. Too often in unfiction do we miss the opportunity to have music in our pieces. Original music. And we don't have that opportunity because it's not easy to utilize. You can create music for cinema, that's easy, and you can incorporate it in there because it's cinema. But in this, we're under in a lot of unfiction pieces, we're under the pretense of realism. Now, not all unfiction pieces, obviously. This really mostly only extends to the found footage ones. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared obviously has its own soundtrack. Same goes for Cat Ghost, Pet Scop, etc. Catastrophe Crow. Those all have their own music and their own compositions, their own score. But in found footage, we don't have that opportunity. Now, Marble Hornets is the first example that I can think of that has a soundtrack, but I've talked about this before. It was created after the fact, after the series was in progress, and it's not included in the series, except for the after credits for season 3. To the Arc had music in it, but it's an edited format. There's music there, but it's not. Some of it's original, but for the most part, it's not. It's not in the moment of the reality of the story. Hi, I'm Mary Mary does that. It has a soundtrack that is diegetic, that happens in the reality of the show. Brilliant. It's very Silent Hill. I mean, it's very clearly inspired by Silent Hill, but goddamn, if it isn't genius to include it anyhow. I would love if Kay released an album on SoundCloud or Bandcamp or whatever that was just the ambiance that is included in Hi, I'm Mary Mary. I would vibe to that shit all day, every day, baby. I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. People should do it more often. Or should at least try to do it more often. Try to figure out a way to incorporate it in a clever way. We're going to go on break here soon. But a couple things before we go. I have 2 fun facts for you. The first fun fact is about Mary's music taste. On Kay's Tumblr blog, somebody had asked her, what kind of music would Mary listen to? And Kay had said, and I quote, sad girl music for sure. Lo-fi indie stuff. Nothing super high energy. Stuff that matches her general energy. This changes as the series progresses, of course. I'd love it if Kay herself made Mary's like Spotify playlist or something. I would bump that. And the other fact that I gotta tell you about, I was able to determine one of the songs that Mary sings over the course of the series, and it's the very end song that Mary is singing. It is Oingo Boingo's Mary, which I don't think should surprise anybody. Break time. Okay, everybody. Hi. We're back from the break. That was quite a lengthy break for me. In that time that we were gone, I want to tell you this really quickly. I moved back into my apartment, uh, that flooded that I told you about at the beginning of the episode. It was only a few hours, but well, okay, it's been. Ooh, yeah, it's nearly been 12 hours since I was recording. So I'm back to it now. You might also be able to tell some kind of acoustic difference. I'll see if I can lessen that as much as possible. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. We're going to start this second half of the episode with the sound design pertaining specifically to the monsters. Now, as I had said in the beginning, each monster in the series has a specific sound that denotes their presence or sound footprint. We're going to start with probably the main antagonist, the one that's considered the sort of central antagonist, the one that leads the other fellas and ladies around. It's the Veiled Lady. I think her sound design is likely the most interesting to dissect because it not only is, I mean, the Veiled Lady is very obviously inspired by sort of Silent Hill, but in a good way. I mean, it was so inspired that I didn't notice it until I had heard that Kay liked Silent Hill, and then it sort of clicked in my head. It's great. I love it. I really, really love I love every sound creature sound design in this. She also said that some of the sounds for the Veiled Lady were inspired by Soma, specifically Terry Akers, which I think is genius. A perfect place to pull from. If you want terrifying antagonist and sound design pertaining to that, you take that. If you haven't played Soma, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite games. And Kay is absolutely right to take inspiration from it. Now, something that I would like to talk about with the Veiled Lady is a beeping melody that will sometimes play when she is on screen. It's very subtle. It is not easy to notice, but it's there. I am going to play the melody for you in its original form, when taken exactly from the show. I'm also going to, if you didn't catch that, I'm going to play it on the guitar, on my guitar really quickly for you so that you can hear it exactly for what it sounds like. That's what the melody sounds like in case you didn't catch it around the first time. I have no idea. I've listened to it many times now. I have no idea if this is taken from a song, if it's a nursery rhyme of some kind, if it's a melody from something else. I don't know if Kay created it herself. I have no idea. I adore it though. I think it's fantastic. I know I keep saying that, and I know I keep praising this series for that, but that's kind of what this show is about. It's to praise original ideas and unique ideas in sound design and to understand why old sounds work. Dude, I want to talk about how awesome the sound design in Hi, Mary, Mary is. Unbelievably original. Please, everybody, if you're watching this and you want to start your own Unfiction series, take notes. Do little things like that. Add little melodies or notes or sounds that denote the presence of the antagonist. And you don't have to use camera glitching. You can use this. You can use a little little melody that plays in the back there.
I think it's genius. Please do that more often. Now, that's not to say that the Veiled Lady doesn't have camera glitching sometimes. She does. I think she has it more than any of the other antagonists, which makes sense considering who she is. I'm not dissing the camera glitching. I think it's fine, but I am in love with the way that Kay did the little melody thrown in there. Moving on, we have the shadow monster. I think the shadow monster is particularly interesting because it isn't necessarily antagonistic. It is occasionally antagonistic, and yet it seems to be the most feral out of all of them. But still, it's interesting. It's interesting the kind of sound design that it has, where it is sort of like oppressive in its presence. Out of all of the monsters, I'm not 100% sure what the shadow monster is supposed to represent. I didn't quite catch that. I think that's my fault. I probably haven't thought about it enough. But I think its sound design would definitely have an influence on what it actually represents. Next, we have Mirror Mary. Now, this laughing sound design, I mean, again, very Silent Hill. I'm also getting a little bit of Twin Peaks from this. I have not heard Kay talk about Twin Peaks yet. I wouldn't be surprised if she said that Mirror Mary was somewhat inspired by Twin Peaks, especially since it falls into that doppelganger concept that is prevalent, that is so very prevalent in Twin Peaks. I love the backwards sort of sound design with Mirror Mary. What I mean to say is, it seems like her laughing is played in reverse. Okay, we'll record it, and then we'll play that laughing backwards, which is funny and genius, considering Mirror Mary is mirror reflection of Mary. I know that sounds fairly obvious, but these kinds of things add layers and depth to your creatures. Even if they seem like, oh, well, duh, of course that monster would sound like that. Well, yes, of course it would sound like that, but just because it's obvious that it would sound like that, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't lean into it. Because you can do some fun stuff with it, which is what Mirror Mary does. Moving on, we have the Crawling Darkness. Crawling Darkness is really interesting to me because it's very loud, kind of, for lack of a better term. It's loud, sort of sound footprint, which makes sense. It is sort of, it's all encompassing. That's a better word for it. All encompassing. And that works considering it's this sort of reality altering type creature reality altering, quote unquote. It affects the world more than the other ones do, at least through Mary. Now, I want to give you a fun fact about the Crawling Darkness. The sound design for it was not finalized when it first showed up in episode 4, and Kay talked about this. She had said that she chose for the sound to be, and I quote, a modulated version of a hyper-powered toilet flushing at her college that she recorded with her phone. So essentially, the Crawling Darkness in episode 4, that is the sound of a toilet at her college. Once again, Kay is the queen of gathering as many things together as possible and making it work. Moving on, a couple general sound design and fun facts, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Kay has said that she likes Soma and Silent Hill, of course. In the post Q&A, she had said that those games inspired her to make the series. And also the cancellation of PT, which makes me wonder what had spurned on the new series that she's doing, STLDOCE. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm wondering what had spurned that on. Some other fun facts. Some of the Foley she had done for the series involved eggshells and celery. This is a common industry technique to do Foley with eggshells and celery. I think I should probably talk about this in depth a little bit. So, for those of you who do not know, in sound design, more often than not, when you hear something in a film or a TV show or anything, the sound that you're hearing regarding Foley, which is replacing sounds that are in the universe of the story. So for example, rain, right? That's the most common example that I can think of, rain. Whenever you hear rain in a movie or a TV show or what have you, more often than not, that is not actual rain. That is the most common example that I've heard, bacon sizzling in a pan. Very often, it is not what you think it is. And the same thing here, the Foley was eggshells and celery. And I want to say something before we close out. That one part in Intruder, the very ending with the barfing and coughing, was perfect. It actually gave me the legitimate heebie-jeebies. That takes a lot, and I want to commend Kay for that. Brilliant. The only thing that I can think of in an unfiction piece that has given me that same kind of feeling is in Sour Salt, when Michael pukes up the worms. Oh, dude, no, I couldn't keep watching after that. That was disgusting, man. Anyway, some final thoughts before we close out. First of all, I want to reiterate that once again, Hi, I'm Mary Mary is a masterclass in utilizing every centimeter of tools and tricks you have to making the best series you possibly can. And this is in the case of sound design, visual design, story, character, multimedia elements, cinematography, effects, everything. Every inch of this series, every episode is meticulously planned, especially after the first 4. After the first 4, it's a masterclass in doing as much as you can with the little that you have. And I want to point out that Hi, Mary Mary is not only a great example of that. I want to give it props because it came out at a time when it felt like there wasn't a whole lot happening other than the West Records, Auspicio Omnium, and I mean, we were at the end of the Slenderverse Golden Age. I should say Silver Age. All the series that were still around, but they were kind of dragging along. They were at least starting to feel like they were dragging along, and our minds were starting to wander in different directions. And Hi, Mary Mary came forward and gave us what we have today. And I want to give Hi, I'm Mary Mary this one last thing. To me, it has earned the crown for the new quintessential example of unfiction that is incredibly well made and original on little to no budget with consistent quality all the way through and features one of the best endings. I'm confident in saying that it is my second favorite Unfiction ending to date, and it absolutely has the best message I've ever seen come out of an Unfiction piece, period. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I would like to say thank you to Kay for creating this wonderful series. Whatever platform you're watching on, Anchor, YouTube, Spotify, etc., make sure you're following the channel, specifically YouTube, where I am uploading at least once per week, every week. This time was no different, and neither will the next. Make sure to follow me on all associated platforms for regular updates on what's coming. If you ever want to request a guest, a specific topic, or want to ask a question, shoot me an email at ag3ntidaho@gmail.com, agentidaho@gmail.com. That is, once again, slower this time, ag3ntidaho@gmail.com. Thank you again for tuning in. Remember to look behind you, and take care.